Well, in Inyo and Mono counties, it was not a good night for incumbents. Bennett Kessler filed this story. Mono County semi-official results show 2 new supervisors and a runoff. And in Inyo, 1,300 absentee ballots still needed to be counted, but the semi-official election report from Inyo County indicates a likely new supervisor in District 2 and potential runoffs in Districts 4 and 5 with a new supervisor in District 5. Now, results show that Jeff Griffiths ahead in District 2. He had 312 votes, or 51.57% of the vote. 50% plus 1 vote is needed to win. Incumbent supervisor Susan Cash had 211 votes and Russ Aldridge 80 votes. Now, Inyo County Clerk Cammie Foote said it's too early to say how the final count of absentee ballots will affect this race. Right now, Griffiths has enough to win. In District 4, Supervisor Marty Fortney has 330 votes, or 40.44%. Mark Tillemans, 266 votes, or 32.60% of the vote. Nina Weissman gained 190 votes, and Chris Dangwillow, 29 votes. Now, depending on the final count, this race could see a runoff between Fortney and Tillemans. In District 5, another runoff is likely, and the incumbent is definitely out. Matt Kingsley gained 304 votes, or 46.77%. Jim Gentry, 212 votes, or 32.62%. Incumbent supervisor Richard Cervantes had 134 votes, or 20.62%. Now, Clerk Cammie Foote said her staff will check signatures on ballots for final results on Thursday. In Mono County, Fred Stump and Tim Alpers beat incumbents in their districts. In District 2, Stump gained 476 votes, or 55%, while incumbent supervisor Haphazard got 389 votes. In District 3, Tim Alpers won 449 votes, or 67.52%. Vicky Bauer, the incumbent, received 216 votes. In District 4, a runoff between Tim Fesco with 272 votes, or 39.48%. Bob Peters has 296 votes, or nearly 43%. Jan Huggins gained 121 votes. Now, in Mono County, we'll talk a little bit about Proposition 29. The cigarette tax barely passed, and in Inyo County, it failed. Overall results for the state of California will still not available as of this afternoon. Now, in Mono County, Phil Obituary and Jackie Conaway were the top vote getters in the new Congressional District 8. And in Inyo, Greg Imus and Jackie Conaway got the most votes. Well, after receiving a number of complaints about how the Mono County Sheriff's Office functions, Sierra Wave Media's Bennett Kessler spoke with Mono County Sheriff Rick Scholl. He responded to concerns raised about alleged bias in treatment of officers, about a current claim for damages by a deputy, and about a fired county worker investigation. Now, to the claim that there are 2 sets of rules within his department, Sheriff Scholl said, quote, "I have always told my staff that no matter who we're dealing with, we take the personality out of it. We deal fairly with all. Personal likes and dislikes are out," end quote. Sheriff Scholl said he and others, quote, "deal equitably with every situation," end quote. He added, time and time again, it has been proven that the department, quote, "has never dealt with anyone unfairly," end quote. Now, Scholl maintains that sometimes members of the public get, quote, "part of the story and react emotionally. I always say, take the personality out of it," end quote. Now, the sheriff also maintains that he believes if anyone, including the grand jury, came in and looked, they would, quote, "find any discipline fair and equitable," end quote. He admitted that public criticism goes with the territory. Bennett Kessler's full story is posted on our website, sierrawave.net. Well, Kenny Scruggs, the bishop attorney and civic activist who became a voice in court for children trapped in their parents' custody battles, died last week after a struggle with cancer. She was 62. Scruggs worked tirelessly on criminal and domestic cases and often took on unpopular clients and cases without concern for the personal consequences. Her friends and relatives will remember her best for her personal devotion to loved ones who needed her. The Eastern Sierra has lost a beautiful soul who gave a bright energy to her friends, family, community, and clients, said Bennett Kessler, owner of Sierra Wave Media, who had been a close friend of Scruggs for 37 years. Kessler said her strength and goodness are irreplaceable. Known for her even-tempered, no-nonsense style, Kenny Scruggs was part of Inyo County history, and her passing is the end of an era because she was an influential figure who, often behind the scenes, tackled controversial issues such as the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power's control over Owens Valley resources. Mono County Superior Court Judge Mark Magid said, quote, Kenny was a passionate and very effective advocate for her clients. Her tenacity and indomitable spirit were balanced by her ability to maintain perspective, sense of humor, and her bright and engaging smile. Kenny and attorney Rick Wood squared off on hundreds of cases, and Wood said, quote, Kenny believed that she could make a difference in other people's lives. Her professional life exemplified that belief. We will miss her terribly and remember her well, end quote. Now, throughout her legal career, Kenny Scruggs made time to pursue philosophical and religious studies and to tend to the gardens, fruit orchards, and reflecting pools at her home on the northern edge of Independence. She was also an artist who decorated the shady retreat with hand-painted tile art. Now, at her request, there will be no funeral services. However, Judge Dean Stout will pay tribute to Kenny when he calls a special session in the court, Department 1, at noon on Friday, June 8th. Colleagues will remember her, and the public is invited to attend. Well, you can read more on the obituary for Kenny Scruggs on our website, sierrawave.net, and in lieu of flowers, you may make a donation to the Eastern Sierra Breast Cancer Alliance in memory of Kenny Scruggs.